Hello and welcome to the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net, live streamed here on YouTube. The Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is an amateur radio net hosted over the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club Repeater and live streamed to you on YouTube. I'm running a little bit late tonight, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this net started, and I'm sure people will jump in if they choose to. Hey, Geeky, good to see you. Thanks for holding the fort down last week. Appreciate that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. The Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is an amateur radio net provided by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club here in the Hudson Valley regarding farming, ecology, and health and nutrition and food and a broader scope of topics around that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is KD2IIN Net Control looking for check-ins. Check-ins, please call now. Excuse me. Hello, Peter of Barbaria. Hello, Bob of Blackberry Apiary.
This is
KD2 TQS.
KD2 TQS 10 being deviant and right.
KD2 RFI.
Kilo Delta 2 Romeo Foxtrot India, KD2 RFI, Bob up in Southern Catskills.
Wonderful. Well, so far the net recognizes KD2 TQS Ken being deviant from his usual routine, and KD2 RFI Bob in Catskill. We'll just do one more opportunity for check-ins, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If there's any further check-ins that would like to check in, please call now. Alright, no further check-ins recognized at this time. We'll go ahead and get started. KD2 TQS Ken, how are you this evening? You guys hear everything okay?
Pretty darn good. I have my chai, but such a beautiful snowy night that I said, I'm going out for a walk. Nice and quiet, the hush of it, the coolness, all that good stuff. That's awesome. I've got yin and yang. Hot chai, cold weather. It's a great day.
Awesome, Ken. I'm really glad to hear that. And I did notice on my way to and from the greenhouse that it's got that nice snow, peaceful, quiet, hush feel to it. And as much as I don't like cleaning up from snow, I do appreciate that part of it. So glad to share that with you. All right, let's roll on down to Bob, KD2 RFI. How are you this evening? Hey, Kirsten. How are you?
KD2 RFI.
YT, what's up, dude?
I opted for the cold bourbon and a warm couch as opposed to the hot chai and a cold walk. I probably should have got my butt off the couch and gone out for a walk instead, though. But yeah, So anyway, all is good on this end. Didn't get to do anything with the bees. Work has kind of exploded on me, and it's been crazy. Been there way too much, way a lot more than I would really like to. But other than that, all's good.
Hey, Kai.
I'll send it back to you, CJ.
I'm glad to hear things are well, and a little contrast is never bad. Warm in the cold or cold in the warm. I could go for either a hot cup of chai and a walk in the cold, or a little scotch or bourbon and sit on the warm couch near a fire would be nice too. But here I am running the net, so I guess that won't happen tonight either way. I myself had a nice cup of coffee a little while ago and had a nice conversation with someone, and so that's kind of my thing. And I've been stoking the greenhouse all day, and I went out and cut up some firewood earlier today and kind of prepped for the snow, expecting it to be more, but it looks like it's only going to be a couple of inches, which is kind of a relief. But anyway, I guess we'll just pause for a moment here and see if there's any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back up to Ken. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there's any further check-ins, please call now. All right, no further check-ins recognized at this time. And we'll roll back up to Ken, KD2, TQS. What's new and exciting over there, Ken? I'm trying not to ask you loaded questions, but I know every question is loaded, so go ahead.
I'll keep it safe and give you a safe one, rolling back on his last comment. What box? Why choose? I'm only out for a walk for a short bit. When I get back, I'll be switching my drink over to something else. Why do we have to make life so difficult and so complex? Why can't we have it all?
Oh, Ken, you're cracking me up on so many levels. So many levels. I'm going to just agree with that, and I'm going to push it right over to Bob, KD2 RFI.
KD2 RFI. After that comment, I'm feeling a little adequate, like I'm overcomplicating things a bit. But I promise you it was extremely simple tonight. Didn't do a whole lot. I did get some firewood done, and
Hey, Titan.
a bunch of other chores. Had a really late start. Friday, had to get to bed till midnight, had to get back up at 3 a.m. and back
Okay,
home
Titan,
to work
take
again
care.
for another 8 hours. And I was just exhausted. So when I crashed out Saturday, it was real hard, real long. Got up late this morning, and but somehow still managed to get everything on the checklist done. So I guess everyone's happy. And that included cutting, splitting, and stacking a little bit of firewood for next year. So trying to beat out all this white stuff. So I got to not stay on too late tonight because I got to be up again and back to work at 3 a.m. in the morning. So
Cheers, Titan.
that's the most complicated part of my life is remembering to get up and go to work. KD2R5 back to that.
Yeah, work is a complication all in itself sometimes. Well, I'm glad you got the other chores and pieces done, and sounds like you're fully healed up from your surgery, so that's excellent. And fully healed up from your recent round with the coof, so I'm glad to hear that as well. And fantastic, I'm glad you joined us as always. So I guess we'll just roll back up to KD2 TQS. Ken?
Okay, you just interrupted a second camera angle. I walked by this old Victorian earlier today during the snowstorm, and on the northern exposure, paused in between two trees, went, oh, fabulous. Now I'm walking by on the eastern exposure and see an even better view. So, amazing what happens when you keep your eyes open. Observation. Drop. I can pass it back to a quote from 2 or 3 conversations that I forgot, and I stumbled across it again this week regarding several of other discussions. Famous quote from John Muir. Drop, give it to you in full. Every time I pull on one thing, I find it connected to everything else in the universe. That's from John Muir, famous naturalist. Lots of places we can or can't go with that one, so back to that. Your call.
Well, I couldn't agree with or share that sentiment anymore myself. Yeah, I've noticed that as well, and the more I explore farming and gardening and natural systems, the more I realize how connected it is to other things, and that goes into nutrition and health and ecology and just every time. That's really well said. I mean, you pull on one little string, you realize it's connected to the spider web that is the universe. So excellent thoughts on that. And I'll pass it on over to KD2 RFI Bob for his perspective.
KD2 RFI. I don't know. The only thing I got to compare to that is I did watch Avatar again tonight, so and that's all about things being connected. So, but no, that's about it. Like I said, today was just pretty much focus, getting tasks done, taking them off, and checking off boxes. So, which is good, and a little extra recreation for me, I guess, just being outside and enjoying the nice winter day, I suppose. I know last week we talked about getting those beehives wrapped. I was supposed to do that this weekend. I never got to that, so hopefully I'll shoot again for next weekend and see what happens. I'm kind of going so long at this point, it might not even be worth it. I don't know, but we'll try and get some as soon as I forward to the longer days and shorter nights. So definitely easier to get a lot more done around the house. And for some reason, it seems like when it gets dark out, it kind of zaps my energy. So it's, you wind up finding yourself coming in earlier. I hate housework, but it's one of those things that has to get done, so you grudgingly do it. But, other than that, I'll send it back to you, CJ.
KD2 and net control for the Sunday night, all things natural net. Well, I can totally relate to that as well, Bob. And yeah, I didn't get out and get tar paper on my hives yet either. And I just took a look at them last night, I think. Yeah, last night. And I see a lot of dead bees near the entrances there. And I did try and put my ear to the hive and get a little tap. And I seem to hear some activity in there, but I'm not sure how well they're doing. And I kind of was thinking the same thing, like, I don't know, should I bother to put tar paper on at this point, or is it kind of a moot point? I don't know, I guess I'm waiting to see how they'll survive the season. At some point I really have to get back and get a oxalic acid vaporizer and really take a little bit better charge on mite control. But I don't know, I guess a few years without any mite controls would be an interesting experiment to see how they survive and how well they overcome their environment naturally using their own methods and means, so to speak. Anyway, let's just pause for a moment here, see if there's any further check-ins. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. I want to, YT, put a remote sensor in those hives.
W2NDG.
Hey, there's Neil.
Island. Not sure what the topic is tonight, but I am here.
Oh, then it recognizes W2NDG. Neil, great to have you along, and no specific topic set. So far we've talked a little bit about our days and our different drinks for the evening. I had coffee before I started the net, and Ken, KD2TQS, is having some chai and going for a walk in the snow, in the quiet of the snow, and Bob was sitting on the couch having bourbon or scotch or something and staying warm. So we're all over the place, and then we were just talking briefly about bees. So I'll put it to you, and you can pick a topic if you like, or comment on those, or whatever. Anyway, glad to have you along. Pick it up, Neil, W2NDG. Get that booze.
I'll add on to that. I mean, the usual coffee today, but I did have some tea that I brewed in a cast iron tea kettle on top of the wood stove. I had a couple of cups out of it. I just put something aromatic in it, in a diffuser, so that would smell nice, and I ended up just drinking out of it a couple of times. And I'm thinking about a glass of bourbon right now. My son gave me a bottle of Knob Creek smoked maple bourbon, so might go grab a glass of that.
Sounds nice.
Other than that, we've just been trying to order some things we needed, and then we've decided to get
Nice
a firewood rack, which will simplify things a little bit rather than dealing with the pile of ugly and rotten pallets that were left in the corner of the yard. So, and that's something that I'll probably throw out to everyone, and you, CJ, is so when the spring comes and I do some serious cleanup here in the back of the yard.
Me too, Kai.
Can I? I mean, I don't know what kind of wood pallets are normally made of. If I'm going to burn them, I'm guessing not burn them in the wood stove. Probably burn them outside in a pit, but I'll throw that to you. W2NDG.
All right, very good. Well, first I want to comment on your tea. I'm having tea now, but I probably will have another cup later on. I've got some tea here that my mom gave me along with some of my other Christmas stuff. It's a mullein spices tea, and it's a combination of like, let's see, spices, citrus peel, cinnamon, what else? I'm trying to find the ingredients now. Anyway, it's a really nice cinnamon chips, orange rind, whole allspice, whole cloves, cinnamon oil, orange oil, and it's a really nice tea, especially to come in from the cold with. So I can relate to that. As far as the burning pallets, there's a couple different types of pallets. As long as they're not the particle board or treated wood pallets, you could burn those in the stove. But I would definitely not burn the treated ones or the particle board ones. Just to be sure that you don't have those toxic vapors ending up in your space, because it is hard not to have a little bit of smoke come in when you open the door and that kind of thing. And there are always small leaks, and some of those toxins and some of those pallets are probably not the best for your health, especially breathing a smoked version of it. So that's the comment I would make on that. And with that, we'll just pause and see if there's any further check-ins in case I missed anybody, and then we'll roll back up to Ken. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Sunday night, All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. Alrighty, no further check-ins recognized this time. We'll roll back up to Ken, KD2 TQS. Yeah, we had struggle this year too, Peter, with the drought and bees and everything.
Just really enjoying the nothingness. First time I've been able to go for a walk in 10 months without being like a rabbit crossing a open field with coyotes and hawks all over the place. There's nobody out here. I don't have to social distance. There's nobody here. Plus the fact that it's the first time I've had any time to myself this past week, which is an added bonus as well. I'm just enjoying that. Sounds like a nice tea. Nice warm variety. Awesome. Back to that.
Couldn't agree more. Those moments of just solitude and quietness in the snow are very special, and it's good to get some space alone and time alone just to be quiet and enjoy that peacefulness. So I'm glad you're getting a chance to do that, and I'm glad you're sharing along with us on the net despite that. So let's roll on down to KD2 RFI.
KD2 RFI.
Good call,
You're alone
Geeky.
in the woods and no one's around. Do you still have to wear a mask? Those and many other questions to be
Only
answered
if
in
a tree
2021,
falls.
I guess. But, I don't know, I guess I should say, it kind of skipped over me. I was thinking about it before, is, Happy New Year to everyone, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely
That
looking
too.
forward to better things this coming year. I've tried burning pallets in the past, not in my wood stove, just, in general. I had an old pallet laying around.
Yeah, me too, YT.
I wasn't using, so I cut it up, figured throw it in a campfire, used it as wood, stacked it up with the other wood and all. And I gotta tell you, it burned horrible. It did not burn good
Really?
at all. Didn't release any heavy black smoke or even black, dark smoke or whatever, like it was, had chemicals in it. It just didn't want to burn for whatever reason. So I don't even bother with pallets anymore. I got so much wood right now.
So true, Kai. So true.
Scraps and trees I've cut down and everything else, and brush. I just use that for my campfires, and I save the good stuff for the firewood for the winter. But spend a lot of time doing that. I too am in a nice little piece of property I can hide on and not be bothered by anyone. And there's really no need for me to social distance unless I go out somewhere or do something. They're telling me I'm pretty much immune to it now, at least for another month or two, supposedly. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'm just a carrier and I'm infecting the rest of the world. Who knows? I don't think anybody knows what's going on right now, and it's kind of frustrating. The other thing I saw on the news say that they're talking about mandating the vaccine for, which I'm
Nope.
not pleased about.
Nope.
Maybe they'll argue it for another 5 years, and I can, retire and move out of the area, I guess. I don't know. See what happens, but it is what it is. Either case, we, like they say in the movie, I used to always tell my kids,
So true,
find a
YT.
Nemo, keep swimming. Back to
Nice. Yeah, interesting on the pallet boards. I've had mixed success with pallets. I usually don't burn them because they also have like screws and nails in them and stuff. When I go to clean out the fireplace, I don't want to put those out on my fields to put ashes out to get that trace mineral nutrition and potassium back in the soil and end up with screws that end up messing up tires on tractors and that sort of stuff. So that's another reason I don't do that. On the rare occasion I do burn something with screws or whatever in it, I usually specifically clean that out and put it somewhere different than I normally would. Ashes, usually kind of find a tree base to put it up under and try not to spread sharp objects about the farm. I have had pallets that were relatively dry and good, and those burn super, super hot and make good kindling, but they do not produce heat for any long-term, on any long-term purpose, I guess I would say. But I've also had pallets that had a little bit of moisture in them or rot, and they also just didn't burn for garbage either. So definitely mixed results. And I guess that brings us back down to Neil, W2 and DG.
Thanks. I don't want to burn them for any purpose other than to get rid of them. That's basically what it is. Rear south corner of the property was where he kept his firewood, and there was still a small pile of wood here when we bought the house, and then, or at least right before we closed on it, and then the day we closed and came here, someone had come and removed it, so there's still pallets there and some tarps. It was left a mess, so I just want to clean it up, and I can throw the tarps away, but it's harder to get rid of pallets. They're not in great shape, so I was just trying to figure out what to do with them. They're not good enough shape really to make them into something else. So, but I'm going to try to get some more wood tomorrow. It's just been burning a combination of buying bags of wood at a local store, which is not economical, and the stuff that I got from Nick, which has been pretty good. It's been good for the wood stove. Once I have it going, that stuff burns great because it's a little wetter than the wood I'm buying at Lowe's. But the wood at Lowe's is almost too dry. So I gotta crank the air supply back a little bit, or it just burns too quick. But other than that, very happy with the stove. And the tea I made, we bought from a tea vendor who was set up near us at one of the flea markets we were doing. They were from California. They were traveling around the country and doing flea markets, and they had a bunch of wellness teas, and this one was called Respirator Tea. All their product names are done like that, and has just a lot of spices in it, and it really smelled wonderful, and it was nice for my sinuses. So that's what I was drinking today, and I'm going to go get a glass of bourbon.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, as far as the pallets, I just like do a little campfire pit and burn them outside out there. I do have a suggestion in the chat here from Kai. She said you could make something cool out of that, like a bizarre miniature house or something. But I guess it depends on the state of the wood. And another option is, maybe you bury them underneath a gardening bed if you're not going to be running anything with tires over it. And you bury them down a little bit deeper, they'll provide food for fungi. So that's also a possibility. Or maybe some mix or combination thereof. Maybe mix them into your compost pit or something. There's certainly lots of flexible options there. Anyway, I wanted to roll back to a comment here in chat from Peter of Barbaria. He's in Australia. And it says that we lost two major local producers, referring to honeybees, because their hives were dead. Plus the fires last year. Saw a wild hive, but they moved before I got a chance to do anything. And he was saying before that they had some pretty bad droughts. He said last year's drought decimated the local bees, but it's good to see the population increasing again. He says I plant specifically for the local wildlife. And he also says that swarm that he saw can't be too far because they're near his graviellas and callistemons, which are plants, I assume, that I'm not familiar with. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that into the chat here, or into the conversation. And I also have a suggestion here from YTFP Chris. He says probably use them for coaster bottoms or some other craft thing. And I'll second that sentiment. I have a friend of mine who does a lot of carving and builds miniature furniture things and stuff like that. And a lot of his wood he sourced from one of the local construction companies he would take pallet wood and strip the pallet wood off of the pallets and use it for other projects. And actually, he made some really cool stuff with some of those pieces. Obviously, you have to be selective and you need decent quality wood, but those are all options and possibilities there. I'll drop for a sec. KD2IIN. The other thing I want to say, you might want to invest in a chainsaw or something like that for the future, Neil. It's really nice to be able to get firewood, and if you figure out a way to source it and move it to your place, you can actually do it really inexpensively. Basically, the cost of keeping a chainsaw sharp and fuel for the chainsaw, and man, that really cuts down your heating and fuel costs for the winter. So just thoughts. Let's see, I guess we should pause and do an opportunity for check-ins, and then we'll roll back to the top of the list. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday night, All Things Natural Net. Looking for any further check-ins, please call now.
This is KD2 KJU, Jed, West Hurley. And CJ, I am enjoying this YouTube thing. This is pretty neat.
All right, well, Annette recognizes KD2 KJU Jed. Welcome to the conversation, and thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying the YouTube side of it. Sounds like more and more people are starting to watch the stream while we do the net, which gives them a look at me. I don't get to see them, but I guess that is what it is. Anyway, welcome, Jed. How are you this evening? I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation.
I'm doing very well. I've watched the live stream in the past. I just set up a second monitor here, and I'm just using that to, I'm not really sure why I'm putting. It's just nice to have. But yeah, no, it's nice to see your background. It's all this nice, beautiful greenery, and when it's all nice, cold outside. It's nice to see that. I'll send it back to you, KD2KJU.
Thanks, Jed. Thanks. And yeah, I really like looking up and seeing that nice green background and seeing my farm at some of its peak moments behind me. Very comforting this time of year when you go outside and it's kind of cold and desolate. And, there is that peaceful silence of the snowstorm, but it's also cold and there's not a lot of life going on out there unless you're listening to the coyotes or watching the deer and rabbits scatter when I go out. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you joined the conversation, and I guess I'll just pause one more time for any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back up to Ken. This is KD2IIN Net Control. If there are any further check-ins, call now. For sure, time to CBC. CBC. All right, no further check-ins recognized at this time. We'll roll back to the top of the list. KD2 TQS. What's going on, Ken? Another loaded question.
Not much, and that's freaking awesome. I will go back to your couple of comments about the desolation of winter and opinions of that.
By the tail?
There was a very interesting article in The Guardian this week. A researcher went up to the Arctic Circle in Norway. Originally went to research SAD, seasonal affect disorder. Discovered a different attitude from the people, and then got stuck up there with COVID. So it was a very, very interesting compilation article. Norwegians really don't have SAD. They have an attitude saying it's winter, enjoy it. Make it a challenge, see what we can do. And there's a direct correlation between their attitude and their ability to cope with life.
For sure.
And it was markedly different. Of course, there is an old Norwegian saying, there is no such thing as bad weather.
I was just being funny, Kai.
Bad clothing. But they just accept it, enjoy it, and find a whole bunch of different stuff. They have an outdoor theater in the wintertime that people sit and watch films at.
Wow.
So it's all a state of mind, all you want to make of it.
That's true.
With that, back
Well, that's really well said, Ken. And it's like that goes back to like that old saying of like, the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. It really comes down to how you view it and how you spin it in a positive way. And that's a good perspective to have. And speaking as someone who has typically had SAD in undiagnosed SAD in previous winters. I find that what's going on in your life and how you meet each day throughout the winter has a huge effect on it. I definitely don't have anywhere near the amount of depression that I used to get in the wintertime, and I attribute that to having a greenhouse and something to do and something to look forward to every day. Whereas in other years it was kind of just depressing to kind of have to hole up from winter, and you go out to do something it's just cold and miserable. But I think you're right. Perspective is a huge part of that. So thank you for contributing that. Let's roll on down to KD2 RFI. Bob. True, Peter, true.
KD2 RFI, yeah, definitely. That's very well said. Everything's what you make of it. Most people choose to be happy or they choose to be angry. I went through several years of dealing with the stressors on the outside that I let get to me, and I walked around very angry for a while. So you can choose what type of day you want to have. There is one YouTube channel I watch, Outdoors with the Morgans, and he ends the channel with "Have a day." In other words, it's up to you what type of day you're having. So that's pretty cool. Very well said. All right, I'm gonna turn in here because I gotta get up really early, unfortunately. But one of the funner parts of my job is, believe it or not, is actually being out in this stuff and being able to work in it. I actually enjoy it. I love being outside overall. And like I said earlier, I hate housework because I'm confined inside, but I'll take outside any day, even if it's wet and rainy. I just gotta remember to put on the rubbers, and then we'll be spend all day in the puddles. All right, you guys have a good night. Happy New Year to everyone on here tonight and everyone else that's viewing the live stream. All right, everyone take care. I'm gonna roll over and go to bed. Wishing everyone 7-3. Good night. KD2 RFI.
All right, sounds good, Bob, and thanks for checking in with us. And you're absolutely right. It does go back to that, and not just on a daily level, but on a life perspective in general. Life is what you make it. If you have a positive mindset about it and take each challenge in a positive way and look at the positive things you can gain from it, it definitely changes the whole equation altogether. I know someone I've been talking to a lot recently, we're talking about some of our past life experiences that were not so great, shall we say, and even those have so much positive messages and lessons that you can take forward that make your future so much better. So everything in perspective and moderation. So anyway, I hope you have a great evening, Bob. I hope your day goes well at work tomorrow, and thanks for checking in. We'll bid you farewell and carry on down the list to W2NDG. Neil. Nice, Peter. Nice.
Oh, sorry about the delay. I'm on the portable. Am I still getting in okay?
Yep, you're in there. Good night, Bob.
All right.
Thanks for coming in.
Multitasking a little. Came into the kitchen to get my glass of bourbon and realized I had some sausage and peppers to put away. Leftovers. And CJ, you and I have had this conversation before, because I told you that I used to be a much more worrisome and sometimes angry person than I am now. And one of the things that has gotten me in trouble over the years, I always say that I'm too nice. Sometimes I tend to let not just people per se, but a situation take advantage of me. But I try to balance that with my attitude. And I think what we talked about the one time is what my ex-wife coined. I thought it was one of the best things that I ever got from her as far as philosophy. That I told her once that it was important to me to be expecting the best but prepared for the worst. And that's when she referred to me as an optimist with an umbrella. And I still love that.
Well said, Neil. Well said. And I couldn't agree more. There's just so much in just a little bit that we've each shared here. But I too have changed. Left behind the angry part and the letting things get to me. I've learned to take each challenge as something positive that I just don't know how it's positive yet. But definitely looking back in my past, I've not met challenges as well as I should have, and it's really nice to have changed that perspective and be meeting those challenges better. So well said. With that, we're going to throw it on down to Jed, KD2, KJU.
Oh, my goodness. Listening to how you actually turned
Peter.
I guess I'm not so nice about stuff like that, but I find it to be a bit of a chore to keep up with people who really don't just want to see what's going on. But I guess it is what it is. Oh my goodness. I do have something going on in the background, so I'm going to pass it back to net control, but I am...
hey, hypnosis and magic.
I will be KD2KJ.
All right, no worries, Jed. And that perspective, you just got to decide that you're going to shift it. And once you do, and you start to be aware and conscious of your reaction to things, you can start to cultivate a better reaction to things in the future. And none of that comes easily. Believe me, it took me a long time to get to that. But it sounds like you're distracted by possibly a puppy dog or something. So we'll just let you go handle that. With that, we'll just take a pause here and see if there's any further check-ins here. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. No further check-ins recognized at this time, and I'll roll back to the top of the list. But before we do, I want to read a comment here from the chat from Kai. She says, I get the opposite of sad. Love the rain. Find sunny days too motivating. It's depressing. Why don't they just let me stay in my cave? So again, I guess we all have different perspectives on it. Anyway, we'll roll back up to Ken, KD2 TQS. How many cans of worms did I open for you, Ken?
KD2 TQS, to quote Monty Python. My brain hurts! Give me a second, I'll get back to you. I was going to go one way, but then that comment goes another way, but actually they're not, because they're all actually interconnected. Everybody thinks that it's supposed to be one way or another, or that each person needs to be, every human responds the same way.
So
Which is
true.
totally absurd, because how many different blood types do we have? Biologically, each person is different. Then throw in the social factor and the developmental factors and the preferred lifestyle factors. Everybody's neurology is different. Everybody's internal biology is different. Why do we think we have to be like everybody else? What we have to do is assess our energies and find out what to balance that with. What is the yin to the yang? Which one of the five elements? Which phase are we in? Which do we need to move to? We're not static. We're dynamic. We're supposed to swim through life.
Right on.
We're supposed to swim through life or dance through life, not be a stick in the mud. So, with that, I'll pass that back to Matt and let you run with that can of worms.
Very nice. I really appreciate the can opener and the taster serving there. Yeah, that's a great way of seeing that, and yeah, it really does come down to like how you cope and approach things, and you're right. Different neurological systems, different biological systems, different developmental systems are all in different places in our lives. And we're all at a different point in learning our lessons, the lessons that are coming to us in our lives and in the experience of our lives. And You know, so many times people, I hear people talking about how they want to leave something special behind, and it's like, I think in a way you're kind of missing the point with that. Isn't it about the journey? Along those lines, I just want to mention here, my friend Brent, who runs the Paranormal Portal, has this saying that he says at the end of each of his live streams, and I really like this and I really resonate with it, so I thought I would just share it here on the net. It's be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, and find the magic and laughter in every day. And I just think that really sums up a great perspective and approach to life, and how we treat other people and how we treat ourselves. So that's a great starter can of worms there, Ken. And we'll roll on down to Neil, W2 and DG. Hello, Mo Mito Leather. How are you? I'm sorry if I can't keep up with the chat necessarily.
Still multitasking. I just fed the beasts here. Let me drop for a sec.
Oh yeah, the radio is like near instant hypnosis and magic.
It's I was in, I won't say a toxic relationship.
Peter.
Just wasn't happy. Definitely. I'm getting comments from the other room here. But I think another thing that we talked about once back when I first got on the repeater up here was there was a point. There was a definite
Glad you're doing well,
point
Mo Milo
in the
Leather.
whole process where I can say that things changed. And it was one night where there was just a particular event going on that I had to deal with, and I suddenly just told myself, remove yourself from the situation and look at it from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed my attitude when I became an observer instead of a participant. And from that point on, I kind of refused to participate in toxic events, we'll say. And that was it. And that really changed me. And then it was right at the beginning of when I decided to spend a lot more time on my own. And, you know, no, I wasn't walking around the woods, Ken, but I was walking around Manhattan, which has definitely a different kind of stimulus, but it was still stimulus. And really just decided that instead of catering to everybody else, it was time that I really started concentrating on what I wanted. And that might sound selfish, but I'm not a selfish person, and it didn't really affect me that way. But going through that period of time made me realize, you know, what I needed to keep myself happy, and then I landed in, you know, this life, which keeps me very happy, and the people that I've surrounded myself with are a huge part of that. And the old people are still there. I just know how to deal with them better now.
Very well said, Neil. Very well said. And yeah, I too have come through a lot of similar circumstances like that. And boy, that's such gold right there. That you when you talk about that, changing that perspective. One of the guys I used to listen to, and actually, I started listening to him thinking I wanted to find someone else that was more appropriate for my life for dating, and. What I found in that journey of listening to him was he focused very much on psychology and making yourself a better person, and in doing so you attract a better partner. And one of the things he talked about almost incessantly amongst all of his information was about cultivating the emotional pause, where when you hear something and you normally you would have just a reaction to it, like a gut reaction or an emotional reaction, you kind of take a pause and you kind of step outside of yourself and try to see it from a personally invested state. And boy, does that really help change your perspective on life and what people say and how it affects you and how you can respond to that. And I think your point about happiness really ties into that as well. If you're not happy in the place you're at, then it's really hard to be present and to share yourself with other people. And so, in a way, it does sound selfish to like figure out what you want. But at the end of the day, figuring out what you want helps you to be a happier person, and that feeds back to the people around you and builds a better community. And so I'm really glad you brought that up. And I know that this is not necessarily a farming and gardening conversation, but I'm not at all upset by that. I'm really happy that we're having this conversation and sharing it with other people. And I hope there's lots of other people listening here that can take some small benefit from this conversation. Maybe it'll help them on their journey. With that, let's roll on down to Jed, KD2, KJU.
KD2, KJU. Yeah. Well, I know I'm not exactly continuing.
Exactly, Milo.
Changing your perspective definitely helps. And I'm sure it's a really tough thing to do for most people.
Me too, Peter.
But it certainly
Me too.
helps with most things.
Thanks, YT.
I'm not really sure. I am dealing with something on the side here, so I'm gonna put it back to net. But I am listening to you guys for the most part. But I'm gonna send it back to you, CJ.
All right, very good, Jed. Well, I'm glad you joined us and you're participating in the conversation. And I guess I will let you go take care of whatever it is you need to take care of as well. With that, we're just going to do one last pause here and see if there's any check-ins that want to join the net. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there's any further check-ins, please call now. Yeah. All right, no further check-ins recognized at this time. We'll roll back to the top list to Ken, KD2 TQS.
KD2 TQS, going back to how you open the net, health and healing. Heard that again tonight. So we're still on topic.
And to read your comment, YT.
I somewhat disagree with perspectives that people keep batting around, and I got to put my foot in it and go there. Normally I get several months to go over this with our students in the curriculum, but it's not hard to change your perspective. It doesn't take long to change your perspective. All healing takes place in a millisecond. And that millisecond is when the person to let go of the old behavior. Now, getting to the top of the mountain, saying, all right, I've had enough of this, I'm going to let go, that can take a hell of a long time. But the process of healing, the process of change is instantaneous. You just have to make the and yes, that sounds new agey, simple, and it is that simple, but not many of us live in a monastery where we can sit all day and pray and everybody else does all the work for us. But don't fall into that rut that it's hard to do. It's a matter of focused effort to make it happen, and focused around the distractions of everyday life, which is what quite often keeps you locked in those old patterns. I'll leave it and put it back to net for clarification if necessary, or we can continue this on another net. So back to net control.
Absolutely. Well said, Ken, and I have to agree with that. You're right. Changing the perspective, it takes a millisecond, and then there's the journey of learning to cope or manage yourself, on a greater level. But you're right that change actually doesn't take long, and it's more about recognizing it and then staying kind of persistent in continuing to observe yourself and be aware of it and continue to recognize and improve yourself over time. So very well said, and I completely agree. With that, let's roll on down to Neil, W2NDG. But before we do, there was a comment here I want to read out from the YouTube chat from YTFB Chris. He says, it's a farm and garden thing because everything and everyone is connected. So that's kind of echoing back to our initial conversation there, Kim. And with that, we'll roll on down to Neil, W2NDG.
Well, that's kind of true, and you know what makes me happy. There's many things, but it's not just putting together something in my electronics workbench and making it work, but
I don't know anything about that, Peter. I'm
getting
sorry.
outdoors and having I do take a number of hikes by myself. And once things started to warm up a little bit after lockdowns in the spring, I would take drives and just take solitary walks every now and then. And I guess I just, I love observing life. That's probably the best way to put it. Because I'm not just looking for plants, and CJ knows that I'm into looking for the wild edibles, something that Ken knows quite a bit about too. But watching the animals and watching how things change if I walk in the same place a few weeks apart and see what's different and what's grown. It's part of just looking at nature and remembering that it's something that's been there long before this house was here and these roads were here and we knew how to build machinery and cars, and it's something that has outlasted all of that and will outlast it again at some point. And maybe that's what's so comforting about it, is that it's something pretty much out of our control that is all good. And I think that's what makes me relax when I go out and look at things like that. So I like to bring some of that into my own yard. Let me drop. W2NDG Friday. And Jill and I were talking about having a garden. And it's definitely something I'm going to look into setting up in the spring. I don't have a ton of room here, and I don't want to do anything crazy. But I want something that is closer to what I like, which is, the wild aspect of it. I have to see what that's going to be. Look into some interesting perennials that I can drop around the yard too. But that's what I'm thinking. Something closer to what I enjoy, going out into the woods and looking for things that are already there, and bring some of that here. At least something close to it. So, I hope that makes sense. This yard is certainly a lot more interesting as far as what's already growing here than other places I've lived recently. So it should be fun in the spring. And cut down some of the more annoying stuff like that. Pokeweed. W2NDG, back to you, CJ.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a great idea. I think maybe you should aim more at a perennial type thing, and sort of make a collection of all the wild forage plants that you like to see, and that'll also give the added benefit of having those plants or plant medicines or plant foods available in your yard. And even better, from a wild foraging perspective, it'll give you a direct visual on what part of their life cycle they're in, so you can better target going out and wild foraging and having good success at finding something in the right flower or fruiting state or whatever you're after. So I think that's a good approach. And it's interesting. The nature of nature is regenerative, and I think that's, for me, one of the most healing things as well. When I go out for a walk and spend time in the woods, you get to observe that on every level, every scale, and in every plant, tree, and animal. And it's definitely very comforting. It takes a lot of the terminal aspect of life that our society seems to be focused on sometimes out of the equation. And once you have that, it helps keep your perspective on the regenerative and healing properties of nature and life processes. So with that, let's roll on down to Jed, KD2, KJU. Hey, Drake. Good to see you.
Someone else is out there figuring out where his mic is. I don't have too much more to add. I'm really enjoying this.
What's up, Drake?
But I'm going to send it back to net control because I'm enjoying enjoying it. KD2KJU.
All right, very good, Jed. And I'm actually starting to run out of time here for this time slot for night. I have some other things I got to take care of, including going over and taking care of some snow at my parents' house. I want to get that squared away this evening, so it's all taken care of in the morning. But I do want to give everybody else give everybody an opportunity to run back through and make some final comments on the net. So this is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net, and we'll just roll back up to the top of the list to Ken, KD2 TQS.
KD2 TQS, nothing further. See you later if need be. Back to him.
Sounds good, Ken, and thanks for your contribution and perspective as always. Always greatly appreciate it. We'll roll back on down to Neil, W2 and DG.
Yeah, that's enough to support cleaning up and watch the fire burn out. And sometimes it's hard for me to put exactly what I mean into words. But I think you got the right idea. So, that's all. Just feeling very good about where I am right now. W2 and DG, back to that.
Well, I have to say I second and share that sentiment, and I'm watching all of the years of learning and making those changes in my life start to pay off in a really big way now, and it's really rewarding. So glad to hear all you guys similar perspectives on that, and I hope in sharing our feelings and thoughts and past experiences that maybe someone else can take something out of it and take it as a benefit to their life, and maybe make their life better for them and the community and loved ones around them. With that, we'll roll on down to Jed, KD2 KJU.
KD2 KJU. Nothing more to add here. I hope you guys all have a good night, and I will send it back to you, CJ. KD2 KJU.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for joining the net. Also, Jed, I greatly appreciate it. And with that brings us to the bottom of the list, and I have to wrap this net up because I have a few other things I got to take care of. But before I do, I want to make a few announcements. I believe tonight at 10:30, K2KRP Kenny is running the weather net, and that's a weather net where all sorts of stations in the Hudson Valley here report their weather conditions, and kind of keep an eye on the developing storm conditions, and those weather nets are activated only during inclement weather events like major rainstorms, thunderstorms, snowstorms, etc. So I encourage you to check that net out. On a daily basis, every day at 8:35 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. we have the OMARC Daily Check-In Net. And that's a net for our local community just to check in with each other and share what's going on in their lives and connect with everyone. And then, of course, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. is the Thursday Night Net run by K2JLV David, and that is a net oriented more toward amateur radio, Raspberry Pi, DMR, antenna design, and so much more on a technical level. And there's always excellent minds and conversation in that net as well, so I hope you'll check that out. And of course, tonight you've been listening to the Sunday Night All Things Natural, listening to or participating in the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net here on the 146.805 megahertz OMARC repeater with a PL tone of 103.5 and a negative shift of 600 kilohertz. Thanks to everyone who joined the net. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great evening and stay warm, and I hope as you're shoveling out and digging out from the snow is not a big deal for you. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. At this time, the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net closes this net and returns its frequency to regular amateur use. Thanks to all those who participated. You can always find out more about our club by visiting our website at www.omarcclub.org. That's whiskey.Oscar Mike Alpha Romeo Charlie Lima Uniform Bravo Oscar Romeo Golf. Thanks to all those who participated. This is KD2I and Saint 73. This repeater is back under regular amateur use, and this net is officially closed. 7-3s, everyone. Have a great evening. KD2IIN. Thanks for coming in, Hypnosis. Appreciate it. Yes, medication interactions. Those are good too, YT. Yeah, lots to talk. That's a huge That's more like might be a tractor trailer load of cans of worms. But I'm glad we touched on a lot of those pieces, because I know the more people I talk to about those sort of things, the more I find people can really relate to it. So, yeah, all excellent stuff. Anyway, I got to wrap this up here, people. I encourage you to go over and check out the Paranormal Portal. They'll be, actually, they might already be streaming live now, but if they're not, they will be shortly. I hope you go and check that out as well. That's with Brent Thomas, and they talk about all sorts of paranormal things and investigate all sorts of paranormal conversations, possibilities, and phenomena. And Brent runs an excellent podcast over there, and I mentioned earlier in net his saying when he closes the net, so I hope you go check that out. Geeky Gardens and YTFP Chris, thank you guys for modding here. Geeky, thank you especially for sharing links, and really appreciate your support throughout all my live streams. So thank you, everyone. I wish you all a good evening, and we will talk to you all again hopefully Tuesday for Comrades and Farms, but if not, maybe next Sunday or anytime soon in between. Happy New Year to everyone. Here's to a happy and healthy 2021 for everyone. Have a great evening, everyone.